Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have never met face to face, and in only 5 days, that will change. Next Tuesday, Harris and Trump will be on the presidential debate stage together in Philadelphia. Yesterday, ABC News released the official rules for that event, which both campaigns agreed upon. Despite that, Trump is insisting that ABC has somehow rigged the debate, which would seem to be Trump's version of a pre-buttal, just in case he flames out.
ABC is the worst network in terms of fairness. They are the most dishonest network, the meanest, the nastiest, but that was what I was presented with. I was presented with ABC. Her best friend is the head of the network. Her husband's best friend is married to the head of the network. And they're going to get the questions. I've already heard they're going to get the questions in advance.
Joining me now is Charlie Sykes, co-founder of The Bulwark and an MSNBC contributor and columnist. Charlie, we all know that Donald Trump doesn't like legacy media as an institution, but I sort of read a little bit more psychologically into this weird pre-buttal that the whole thing is rigged. Do you have a working theory on why he's doing this right now?
Oh, it's classic Donald Trump. It's very much on brand. Look, Donald Trump doesn't play chess. He doesn't know how the pieces move, and he walks in and he throws the board over. You know, before you even begin the game. Look, he is trying, as you said, it is a pre-buttal. He's playing the pre-victim card. You know, all of this whining is designed to make him an object of sympathy for his base. But also, there's a little bit of working the refs going on here. You know, he's challenging ABC. You know, I've said you're going to do all these terrible things. I've told lies about you. You know, now you need to bend over backwards to be nice to me. But again, this is Donald Trump. This is somebody that is not a mystery. He is not a secret. He is not a riddle or an enigma. He's going to go in there and he's going to, do everything possible to derail this debate. We could talk about the substance of it, but I think that anyone that expects that this is going to be a reprise of Lincoln Douglas, or that the nation will be wiser or smarter afterwards, is someone that, well, at least has not been paying attention over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, Charlie, our standards have been significantly lowered from that, but props to you for conjuring the ghost of Lincoln Douglas. I also think there's the reality that Donald Trump has been saying some crazily incoherent stuff in recent interviews at events and on the trail. And it may not be some personal cognizance that he's not the man he used to be, but wow, does it sound addled? Wow. I want to play. This is Trump about a week ago at a rally in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Let's listen.
You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind.
I guess somewhere there's like a linkage between bacon consumption and the horrible energy of wind. He goes on to talk about the death of birds and bird cemeteries and the sort of exactly. I mean, we've made light of the fact that he talks about Hannibal Lecter now and sharks and electrocution and so forth. But it is representative of someone. I mean, I will say Justin Baragona in Zetio writes, while it was just 6 weeks ago that another presumptive nominee was forced out of the race due to concerns about his advanced age and declining mental acuity, the mainstream media no longer seems all that interested in the other party's 78-year-old candidate sundowning before our very eyes. He is much more incoherent than he has been, and that was a low bar.
Right, and you saw that again today, where he's has this rambling, absolutely incoherent bit of gibberish when he's asked about how he would lower daycare costs. This was the biggest political story of the first half of 2024. It was the cognitive decline of Joe Biden. Why has it not continued to be a leading story? But I'm really glad you brought this up, because this is a preview of the debate. You know, and as I mentioned before, this is not going to be a debate that is going to center on policy, because what you see with Donald Trump is a mind that is as devoid of information as it is lacking in any sort of discipline. So what he's going to do, he's going to go in there and he's going to throw anything he can up against Kamala Harris, every insult, every bit of disinformation. And it's a real challenge. It is a challenge for both the moderators and for the vice president to deal with somebody who is unbound by the truth and is not going to engage in any kind of a substantive policy debate because, frankly, I don't think that he's interested in that. That is not what he is going to be aiming for in the debate. What he's going to be aiming for is to muddy up Kamala Harris, maybe drag her down into the mud. But it's not going to be, a particularly edifying experience for any of us, I don't think.
I was interested, Charlie, in the fact that the Harris campaign wrote a letter to ABC News expressing its displeasure that the mics will be muted during this campaign, the debate. They said the mic muting will serve to shield Donald Trump from direct exchanges with the vice president, and that Harris will be fundamentally disadvantaged by this format. What do you make of that argument?
Well, I don't think it fundamentally disadvantages her, but I also think that it's kind of an insight into what they hope is going to happen, which is that Donald Trump will be Donald Trump. Let Trump be Trump here, and that Trump will, in fact, continue to blurt out, interrupt her, will, in fact, put on display many of the parts of his personality and his character that have turned off so many Americans, maybe remind American voters why they defeated him 4 years ago. So it is interesting that, she is taking this particular position, but I don't think she's fundamentally disadvantaged. On the other hand, Donald Trump may be somewhat protected against his worst instincts and worst behavior, but I don't think it'll ultimately make that much of a difference.
Protected against his own long-winded jags about bacon and wind. Charlie Sykes, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate you.
Thank you.